Okay, good morning everyone. Baruch Haba. We're continuing in Mishna Berura, Daf Hashavua. We're learning Siman Kuf Nun. We are up to Sif Daled. Yesterday we saw with the Mechaber that if you build opposite the window of a shul, it's not enough to move your house away for Amos, because a shul needs a lot of light. Says the Mishna Berura Sif Katan Tes Ein Maspik Loi Ratzaloymar Di'ilu Banakaz B'Shusa Neged Chalash Chaver Dinu Hu Ditzarach Lachik Arba Amos Kidei Shlo Yafas Chaloynoi V'Dai. The Gemara Bava Basra teaches that if you build a wall in your domain opposite the window of your friend, you have to distance it 4 amos so as not to darken your friend's window. Avo B'Veis HaKnesset Tzarach Ar Gadol, a shul that needs a lot of light. Mahani Hachzakas Chaloynois Sheish Lahem Mikvar Sheyatzarach Laharchik Yoiser. The chazaka that they have to be in that area helps that somebody who builds a house has to distance himself more than Arba Amos. We don't know how much more. 8 amos for sure will work. In other words, we don't know how much, but 8 amos for sure will work. Okay? Look in the Shari Tshuva in the name of the Rabbi Yehuda. And the difference, Yachriu, the Rabbi Yehuda says, Chach Meir lefi ro'osei neim kama tzarich lesek neses. Okay. What about the courtyard or the antechamber or the Ezras Nashim? Gam sham lo yisagi ba'arba amos. Do there too, we say it needs a lot of light? Says the Chavetz Chaim, in his opinion, don't add on to the chumrah of that what Chazal teach that a shul needs more light. Where does that come from? That a shul needs more light? It comes from the Aguda in the first parak of Bava Kama. The Balavachi Gam Iker Dina da Mechaber Inoi Barar. Because the whole din of the Mechaber that a shul needs more light, it's not clear. I would imagine it's not in the Gemara. It's found in only one of the Rishonim. Ayin b'chidusha b'kiveger kasar Rama b'tshuva Seif Siman lamed beis chatzar beis haknesha ein boi tashmish sanu al rabim. A courtyard of a shul that does not have a private use for the tzibur, meaning people are not doing anything private there, cannot protest against someone who wants to open up his windows to look out into the courtyard. In other words, let's say you have a shul and a guy, and in the courtyard nobody's doing anything private. What are people doing in the courtyard of a shul? They're standing around talking, let's say. Right? That's where everybody has their phones probably. They probably left it outside in the courtyard, I would imagine. Otherwise, if they brought it in the shul, maybe they should just close down the shul already. So probably they left it in the courtyard. So now a guy opens up a house and he's overlooking the courtyard, and now the people are saying, you're infringing on our privacy. So we tell him, we tell them you have no right to protest. It's like he opened it up against the Rishus HaRabim. But let's say the shul is opening up the window of the shul into his courtyard. He could protest and say, I'm losing my privacy. This is talking about where the individual is opening up his windows to a place where the rabbim are going. This is talking about where the individual is opening up his windows to a place which is a public thoroughfare, and it's not possible for them to build in this place in any way. Otherwise, they could protest. Maybe the Kol wants to build there. And he's going to claim that he has a chazaka in his windows, v'yimcha melivnos, and protest them building. In other words, this din, that if the kahal, basically we're saying that a guy could open up his windows opposite the chutzner of the shul, and the people can't say anything because it's like a public thoroughfare. But it has to be that the tzibur has no way to ever build anything there. Otherwise, they could tell him, you're not to open up your windows here. Maybe we're going to want to build here, and you're going to claim you have a chazaka with your windows to overlook, and then you're going to prevent us from building. V'yafagav the pasak Rama b'chosh mishpat Seif Siman Kuf Mentes de'ein moyel chazaka b'shal kahal. Even though the Rama in Chosh Mishpat paskins that a chazaka does not help regarding the kahal, namely against a kahal, where the guy will not be able to say, I have a chazak with my windows, I'm not letting you build. In other words, even though the halacha is, you can't claim chazaka against the kal, they could say they don't want to get involved. He's going to claim he has a chazaka, and then they're going to say, no, there's no chazaka against the kahal, and they're going to have to go to Bezdin, and they know who wants to do that. They want to avoid the whole situation. So they say, look, if this is an area that we're able to build in ultimately, we don't want your windows overlooking it now so that we're not prevented from building in the future. The Mishabura continues. Kasa b'sefer Chasidim simen tav tezayin chaloin shahoylech keneged rishus harabim. A window that's going keneged the rishus harabim. A window overlooking the rishus harabim. V'nei adam oivrim derech shom leiskas. And people are going by that window to the shul down. People are passing by on the street by that window. Lo yishbechu meiraglayim in achaloin. Do not pour meiraglayim out of the window. Lefi sheyesh shaholchem ha'ashkol beis. As people go to shul early in the morning, shaholchem ha'choshech, and when they go in the dark, lo yuchlu lihizaher. They are not able to be careful. Shlo yistanfu b'meiraglayim, not to get soiled with the meiraglayim. Uchsiv shemoyer Raglacha kasher telech al beis holikim. Guard your feet when you go to the house of the Almighty. Ad kan l'shaynei. Uvelav hachi yesh lizar shaloi lishbach shoivchin b'makam malach b'nei adam. Says the Chavetz Chaim, aside from that, aside from the religious aspect of soiling people's garments on the way to shul, yesh lizar shaloi lishbach shoivchin b'makam malach b'nei adam. You should not pour out water that's dirty in a public thoroughfare, so they don't slip. Dukamai barbershus harabim. Kasa b'sefer sheretz Yosef. Shchinei beis hakneses sheish lam beis hakisei shemagiam mimenu reach ra lebeis hakneses. The neighbors of a shul that have a bathroom, that the smell of the bathroom reaches the shul, tzrichen harchikah, they have to distance it from the shul. Va'afilum kadam ha'beis hakisei. Even if the bathroom came first. Lebinyan beis hakneses avil hachi tzrichim asalkai. Deshani hezeka derabim mehezeka deyachid. A damage that you cause to the tzibur is different than one that you cause to an individual. So in other words, the shul could tell you, it's very nice you've been living here for 20 years, remove your bathroom now. The only thing is the shul has to pay him. There's a parallel cases in Shulchan Aruch. The Mechaber, now the Mechaber Sifhei. In Poischin Pesach Beis HaKnesses Ela Keneged Hatzad Shemespalalim Bay Ba'oisa Ir. The door of the shul should be in the direction that they're davening in. She'im ispalin lamarav. If they're facing west, yiftechul lemizrach. The door should be on the east. We don't want to be in a situation where people are davening and all of a sudden they're also simultaneously taking attendance of who's walking in and out of the shul. Now, why shuls have doors on the side and not opposite the aron? I don't know. I'm not sure. But I'm sorry, that's not the reason. The reason that I said is not the reason the Mechaber gives. Why? She'im mispalin lamarav, if you're down to the west, yitchulum ezok kedei sheyishtachavu min ha'pesach negad ha'arayin, so that you could bow from the doorway in the direction of the arayin. Shehu beruach shemispalim negdai. In other words, it is considered proper that you walk into the shul, you bow toward the arayin. So again, that would also be a reason why it shouldn't be on the side. It should be directly ahead. Basically, the Mishnah Berura is going to say that nowadays also, the doorway needs to be opposite the arayin. 90% of shuls don't have it that way. You could always build a new shul and do it the right way. That's always an option. But first get a klaf, meaning first you get a klaf, and then you could make sure the door is opposite the arayin. We'll see that tomorrow.
Is there any way to still have money to buy out the bathroom?
Recording stopped.
If you invest in